Welcome to the Scott Townsend Show, brought to you by Dietzo Man Productions.
Hey, this is Scott Townsend, and you're watching the Scott Townsend Show, and I have with me today Dr. Gopal Chandrasekharan, and he's a pediatrician here in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And thanks for joining us, Dr. Gopal.
Thank you, Scott, for having me.
So this podcast, I mean, you can hear it worldwide, but so anything that's mentioned during this podcast is applicable coast to coast. And specifically for the local community here in Bartlesville, I invited Dr. Gopal on the show today because I wanted to get his take on, well, I'm a part of a committee that's put together a information campaign to help reduce COVID through this Beeville bill, and the message is wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear a mask. And, you know, as a pediatrician, I'd like to get your take on this. We really thought about kids in this campaign because when we came up with the character, the buffalo, we wanted something that kids would like, and adults too.
Sure.
That adults could get behind, but you know, the kids also could get excited about it, and that's why we came up with the superhero. Of course, Buffalo is big here in Bartlesville. So, how do you think we did? Did we do okay?
Well, for the as a pediatrician, from a kid's perspective, I think you guys hit it on the nail, and I think that was a pretty nice mascot to have for kids. I've heard different things for adults, but that's not for me to judge.
Yeah. Watch your distance. Washing your hands is, I think we all know the benefits there. Wearing the mask, probably some differing opinions there, but watch your distance. I don't really hear a lot about watch your distance. Why is that an integral part of defeating the COVID virus?
So that's a good question, Scott. I think the CDC and the WHO have kind of pretty much proven, and multiple studies have been done by different entities and organizations and academic centers all over the world. And they've kind of come to the conclusion, and it's pretty established science now, that 6 feet tends to be a good distance to keep because of droplets that can be spread through sneezing, through speaking, through talking. I mean, the fact that we're doing this via Zoom is pretty. That's going to be the common theme that they're going to talk about decades from now. But I believe and that's been pretty established as far as why we're doing this. The masks help quite a bit in that regard. But it's also important to know that there's been some debate regarding how airborne this virus is, and I think more and more, the scientific community is being more and more settled on. Okay, this is more airborne than we expected, and by that we mean there are 2 different types of droplets. One is that sprays that you spray on to people right then and there, and then another type that is a little bit more lighter of a particle, lighter spit particles that can stay airborne, and it can kind of stay hung in the air, if you will. And that can also contaminate the airspace that people can be spending time in.
What do you think of, as far as my next question here is, are we at the finish line? Are we?
No, absolutely not, Scott. I really do wish that I can say that we were, and you know, that's another thing too that I think, Scott, I want your listeners to understand, is that we doctors and we nurses are also humans too. We're just trying our best to make sure that we can also see our friends and family as well. We don't want to just wear the masks and just walk around like this. I mean, this is not something that we enjoy doing either. We're just doing this for the public health, for the common good. And I mean, just like as a pediatrician, parents tell their kids to eat their veggies and they may not like it. At times I've felt maybe a certain correlation can be made in the situation as well. But no, I think the vaccines have become a very good bright spot to hold on to. I think at least we have that now. However, as everybody knows by now, I think that's only been deployed to the healthcare personnel at this point. And soon, I think CDC came out yesterday with some guidelines on who the next people should get it, and which will be essential workers and also people above the age of 75. I believe I think that's the next group, but that's going to take months. And there are different countries. For example, India, I think may not even be able to vaccinate its entire population until 2024. So, I mean, we're not talking, I'm not saying that we have to stay depressed that long, but certainly we're not at the end point at all. And before we can get to that bright spot, these next 3 months are going to be excruciating, and it'll be very crucial part of the pandemic.
So it's really important that we all pull together on this, this one last big push. It may be a long push, but
it will be a long push, and absolutely, it's again, I think when I've had conversations and in my messaging to the community throughout this whole process, throughout this entire period, I've kind of always went back to World War II analogies. And again, if we if the United States and if Britain, if the Allies had stopped at Iwo Jima, or if the Allies had stopped at the Battle of the Bulge and not finished the job, history could have been different. And so that's the kind of analogy that comes to mind. I think these 3 months are going to be, this winter is going to be very poignant.
You bring up World War II. I was actually thinking about that earlier today. That's probably one of the last times in history where we see the entire population pulling together to affect a victory, rationing gasoline and metal and meat and victory gardens. And,
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I just think that's cool. And
I think that generation has we've a lot to learn from that generation, I believe, and I think we owe it to that generation. So and we're losing that generation now, but and this pandemic has probably hastened that process anyway. But I think we owe it to them, and we owe it to our friends and family, and for our community to come together.
So the last question I have here is, what concerns you most about this stage of the virus? What's the thing that you're most concerned with here now?
Pandemic fatigue, that goes without saying. I think all of us, doctors included, I'm sure Dr. Fauci is also pretty fatigued. But I think all of us are fatigued. Everybody's tired of this for sure. I think it's only human that we feel that way. But we are human. By that, what I mean is that we're different from animals as far as we can watch out for each other. And use thought and intellect and empathy that we've been given by God or nature, whatever you believe in, to pull together and to do this. And I think people are getting tired of the whole, wear your masks, wash your hands and wash your distance. But it just becomes even more important. And I know that I think the healthcare sector has repeatedly talked about, please don't have Christmas holiday parties and Christmas gatherings, and it's tough. It's very hard. It's been one of those more excruciating pieces of advice that I've had to give in my career so far. But that is my job, and that is our job, is to make sure that you guys get the best advice and best guidance from us.
As tough as it is, if we all pulled together and really made a hard push here, we could really see the end of this sooner than later. But if we keep fooling around with it and we keep some do and some don't, this could go on for a long time.
Absolutely, this can go on for a long time. And again, to that point, we have the vaccine, but we also now have a new strain of a mutated coronavirus. that has come out of Britain, and that is just it's fresh news. It just came out, I think, a week ago, and different countries are struggling to try to contain it within that country so that it does not come to the entire world. But so that is again another case in the point is that we can get the vaccines, but until that vaccine has been safely distributed to everybody, to the entire populace, if we keep getting these mutated viruses, now what scientists have said so far, what they've been able to establish is that this is no more lethal than the current virus that we all know about, but it is more contagious. So essentially, it's going to spread faster. So again, maybe the main things that we know that we can do now for sure is wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear your masks. And no matter how mutated the virus is or how bad it gets, if you just stick with the basics, it should work.
Right. Well, Dr. Gopal, really appreciate your time visiting with us, lending us your professional advice there and insight into what you and I and all of us are going through right now. And really, thanks for your time and thanks for the knowledge that you've shared with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Scott, on your show, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
You too. Well, for Dr. Gopal, this is Scott Townsend. Thanks for joining the Scott Townsend Show, and we'll talk to you later.
The Scott Townsend Show is a Dietzo Man production. For more episodes, visit the Scott Townsend Show YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.